lovely people, this is rant, and welcome to another talky video, this time however without any notes, so it might be even more rambly than the last one. About, well, the last kind of bigger, weird, screw-up sort of thing by, well, I'd say the main owners of Minecraft. Like the ones all the way at the top. And the thing is, many people are criticizing something here that they really don't have any control over. Because this whole thing with being able to moderate your own platform is a thing that is more and more commonly implemented in like countries' legislation and laws. Which means companies, like for example Meta or Twitter or so on, have to comply with this. One of the companies that definitely also has to comply with such laws being introduced is Microsoft. And they already basically do this and have been doing this even before such laws existed for a long time. Like, the first time I noticed some sort of report and an issue where you could technically also like report another user or like email or like whatever in a Microsoft system was something like 2005, and they possibly had it longer, but that was the first time that I ever used a like Microsoft service. So basically this whole thing with being able to report something or someone for example profanity or harassment or whatever. Some Microsoft services have had this for a long time. Nowadays, with obviously things like the Child Protection Act in the US, or just like straight up like fake news and hate speech countermeasures in other countries in the EU and so on, they definitely need to have such a thing. And well, companies need to monitor and moderate their own platforms in that way that is legally binding in some countries, so they need to do it. And well, Microsoft has that for basically everything they have so far, for Live Mail, for Xbox Live, for whatever, for basically the whole Microsoft and Windows Live environment. They have that since 2 decades or more. The problem is, the new thing here is now Minecraft, which is a platform that offers people the possibility to talk to each other via a chat. It's not any different from Facebook really, in that regard. I mean, you can't share pictures, but other than that, it's basically Facebook. And there are a lot of different servers, which doesn't also make it that much different to something like Discord, right? Which also needs to moderate, and you can be banned from like using Discord entirely, even though you just said something on someone's Discord server. It's like, well, yeah, it's still the platform, and Discord can just ban your user account, and that now has to happen on Minecraft, and not only Bedrock Edition but also Java. That is totally clear that this has to happen, and so anybody in the community who criticizes even the implementation of this feature just doesn't know anything about legal requirements, and possibly is going to do a slip up at some point themselves that is going to get them into jail. Don't be that person. So the feature itself, totally logical to be there. It has to be there. The more and more countries enact certain laws, the more you need to have this feature in order to be able to operate in this country. Meaning, hey, if you were from, I don't know, Austria, and suddenly Austria enacts a certain law, and then you are banned from playing Minecraft, not by Mojang or Microsoft, but your state, and it would be an offense to do so because it doesn't have the moderation tools to adhere to this law, so in extension you wouldn't adhere to this law. I think you'd not be happy, and possibly the youngest person in jail or something. That's not great. So obviously the platform providers want to make sure that they don't have to be banned in any country. I mean, there's even a China edition, so like definitely Mojang and Microsoft want this game to be allowed and successful in any place. And so they need these features now to be prepared when in 2, 3, 4 years every country gets their Hate Speech Act and their Child Protection Act and their I don't know what act, to be able to moderate everything that their platform gives rise to. Now, that is just the first thing that I want to say here, that the feature itself needs to be here, makes sense, it's going to be legally required in more and more countries, and yeah, they don't get around having this feature. Also, if you look at how this feature looks, it almost looks one-to-one to the report form you would have had in like some Windows Live programs to report another user in 2007. So it's the same form. It's literally the same thing. It is tried and tested. It has worked for so many things in the past. It's not going to be completely broken. It's not new. It's 2 decades old or older. So the system itself, Microsoft has this in place for all of their things. So they just put it into Minecraft. There you go. It will somehow work. Now, there are however 2 to 3 more things that get criticized, and those possibly either we can't look into the future, but we can make assumptions, and the other ones, like rightfully so, in once again kind of a communication screw up a little bit. So let's start with the one that's like a maybe, and that I just kind of debunked by saying this feature has existed in other Microsoft services for a long time, so it's not gonna be broken. But some people go like, well, you could report someone, and then if, for example, the moderation staff that get the report don't understand the context, or it's taken completely out of context, then they might ban a person who did absolutely nothing wrong. Also the fact that you could be on a server where generally, like, I don't know, swearing and whatever is totally fine. Maybe some people have a server themselves being like maybe 30 or 40 and have a server with their same age friends, and they just shout profanities at each other the whole time just because they like to do that. Then if one of them just suddenly goes mad at someone else, they can just report the entire chat and like all the users on that server for profanities, and then you have these users banned for like, I don't know, 6 months or a year from playing anything on Minecraft except for single player. So abuse definitely can happen, and the thing is, the difference here between most other Microsoft services, with maybe the exception of Xbox Live, but most of the other services, you wouldn't really have a user that you want to directly report to and get suspended for something. Like in live mail, I believe there also somewhere is like a report feature where you can get an email address. If it's like outside of Microsoft's control, then you can report it for like spam or like scam, and like just get it on some global blog list for like for some chunk filter. Or if it is a Microsoft email address, then you possibly could get a user suspended by reporting it. Normally in email you don't have to do this. You're just going to add this to your own spam filter version or whatever, and don't have to do that. Also in some, I don't know, Windows store or something, you possibly don't have to report a user. You have definitely got the possibility, but normally you don't need to. And even in Xbox Live, even if there is some sort of game chat with it, I think also their reporting users is possibly the very special and only occasionally happening thing. The thing is, yes, Minecraft, in that sense, is a bit different, especially when you go to privately owned Java servers, because they have their own rules or none at all, and they have their own moderation or none at all. And while to a lot of people it feels like its own platform, it's still running on Minecraft. It's still communicating with Mojang and Microsoft's servers, and anybody who plays the game has agreed to multiple terms of service. So they need to enforce those. And that's just a foreign concept to most servers and server owners, sadly, because honestly, in a lot of other games, that's totally normal, because the servers are just like centrally hosted by the company that made the game. But here in Minecraft, it's just slightly different, and also the reporting of users is slightly different, because yeah, on servers, users get reported all the time. Like, I, at some point, went onto a server for like, I think only 7 minutes I played on this server, because there was a small like exploit for infinite money that I tried out there for 7 minutes just to see if it worked, and it worked, and I was like, okay, fine, I don't have anything against the server, so I'm not gonna do anything with it. But anyway, and in these 7 minutes, on like minute 4, I saw someone in the lobby just with a like straight up Hitler skin. Yeah, okay, so I went on the forums and reported this person and made a screenshot. So that, because this server definitely had a like clause in their terms of service against that, they could just ban this person. So yeah, in Minecraft, definitely player reporting is much more of a thing. And I think possibly Microsoft and Mojang have kind of underestimate that. So the fact that they implemented the same system that has worked on Microsoft services for 2 decades, on the one hand, you could say that's great. The problem is, yeah, possibly some of the concerns that this might not really work for Minecraft, and they will be flooded with wrong accusations and like mass reports and I don't know what. Yeah, it's more probable than on something like Xbox Live or the Microsoft account settings tab or something, where they definitely had such report features for like problems or whatever, which then also were like users and so on, yeah, for a long time. Now the next problem that I'm seeing, that's not one of the ones I said before, those like 2 or 3, but one that I'm seeing is basically you could just mass report people. Basically, developers of hacked clients are already thinking about putting an auto report feature in that then just automatically sends reports for everybody's chat messages on the whole server instantly. That's gonna be a thing, definitely. And yeah, then I think the moderations and people at Microsoft are not going to be too happy about this, and the thing is they are then definitely going to wrongly ban people, because they will see some sort of like chat message that just says the N-word and go like, yes, this is of course profanity, yes, and maybe abuse and maybe something else, so we are going to ban this person. If this was a account on 2B2T just trying to fit in, yeah, then you might have just banned the wrong person, because while they would write that there, they possibly wouldn't write it anywhere else, and there's like, yeah, there are like 500 bots in chat that constantly do that. Okay, sure, these bot accounts, if Mojang bans all of those, I'm not too bothered. Then again, the people that have these bot accounts possibly make money with certain things they do, so they can just buy a new account, and yeah, so that's like questionable if that even is going to do anything. But yeah, then there are people that just want to fit in with the general toxicity of the chat, even though most of it is bots, and if you ignore all the bots, then suddenly it's a really nice place. But someone might not know that, might not do that, and they go like, oh yeah, I'm just also gonna write the N-word, and then the next day, suddenly their account is permanently banned from playing any online Minecraft. Yeah, that's extreme. And another problem that I can see here is problems with translation. So while normally on most services that Microsoft otherwise has, you will most probably find them being used in English, or maybe like German or French or something like this, maybe Arabic, but generally a lot of these things and a lot of reports about like spam mails or other users or whatever will usually also come there in English. With Minecraft, if you have a Spanish server, then everybody's gonna speak Spanish. And I know that from once joining a like temporarily set up snapshot server that however was set up by someone in Spain, and then there were like 5 people on and they were all Spanish. They type Spanish in chat, they don't communicate in English there, because why would they need to? And that's just the thing. If they now get something in, I don't know, Sanskrit, and none of the moderators can read that, and they put it into Google Translate, and right at that point, or Bing Translation or something, and right at that point someone has like spammed that translation model with wrong translations. Yeah, maybe they have taken the word "oh, I hope you are fine," or the sentence "oh, I hope you are fine," and spammed the translation correction with this actually meaning "your mother is a terrible swear word." Then as soon as the moderator just puts this innocent sentence into the translation software, because it has been bot spammed with the correction that is wrong of that translation, they will get that out and go like, oh yes, this is totally a profanity or an abuse or like whatever, and are going to ban this account, even though the translation software was wrong. And I work a lot with breaking translation softwares. Yeah, occasionally they have such like wrong suggestions, like when you type a lot of like one character into Google Translate and then go to a different languages, and suddenly just a long string of just M's turns into a sentence in a different language. Like that's just someone having like spammed the translation suggestion for to French in then being something offensive or something of political statement or whatever. And this can happen with just normal sentences. Hello, do you like soup? Someone could take that sentence and in another language change the suggestion to what this might mean to something else, and then use bot accounts to upvote that suggestion. Yeah, I have seen it once where I translated a completely normal sentence that you would say possibly every single day. Can't remember what exactly it was, but I just translated it from English to German, so I knew what the output should have been. But in German, oh my god, the output was something about Nazis. I was like, that is not right. Someone spammed that normal sentence from English to German, the German suggestion, they changed it and said, hey, this is the correct translation. And then if you get enough accounts verifying this, then this is going to be the first thing that Google Translate shows. With bot accounts, it's really easy to do, and yeah, clearly someone had done that there. And if that happens, and the moderator at Microsoft don't speak the language that the report was made in, and they use a translation software, and someone has just change that. Like, I guess possibly a lot of sentences in Ukrainian might currently be a little bit boxed like that, because of people doing that, or someone states or whatever. If you then have that problem at that point and you try to translate a totally nice normal sentence from that language to English, suddenly it's like, oh my god, yes, this is offensive, or political or whatever, we need to ban this person. And in reality, that's not what they said. But just because someone doesn't speak the language that the report is made in and there's no one there who does, yeah, I think translation software and the abuse of it might play a big role in this feature. And then we get to the point where, yeah, no, this is not going to work the same way as it has worked for all of your other services for decades. This is going to be a very different thing. Okay, let's now come to this other thing I mentioned before that might be a problem. So basically, a lot of the community is mad that, like, basically some control, or maybe depending on how people choose to report something, all control is being taken away from the basically independent server owners. That yes, they use the software provided by Mojang specifications. Mojang Studios. They use the solution, but have their own environment, have their own rules for that, have possibly highly modified the base game too, and are moderating their own server. And then it's suddenly someone can then send a report of something said in chat, not to them, but directly to Mojang/Microsoft, and yeah, possibly then they ban this person from any online play, while it's like, maybe that's on a server where you could just talk to the person, tell them that what they said is not right, and maybe they'll keep that in mind. Like, I'm the last person to say that people can change, because they can't, but with some knowledge of what is right and wrong, you can act accordingly. Yeah? And I'm here thinking of servers like Outcraft, where some argument might get heated, someone might report someone else, and be so mad and upset that they instantly go to the built-in report feature and just send the report. And then if a reviewer at Microsoft looks at that with no context of the conditions of both of the people, the reporter and the reportee, and of what server this was like actually on, and yeah, without any context, yeah, it just takes one slightly upset person that reports a bunch of people and one reviewer who just is happy to just click the approve button 10,000 times instead of actually checking what is going on there. You might end up with a whole lovely community being completely destroyed by just everybody being banned from all online play, and that would cause a lot of more problems. And at this point, I'm just, as soon as 1.19.1 comes out and most servers have to update to it to stay relevant, I think this is not a if it will happen, but when it will happen. And that's sad. Yeah. And then again, yeah, on like servers like 2b2t, I guess if you join, you are possibly going the next day to just be perma-banned because of all the reports that some bot account with a hacked client generated for you there. Yeah, that's possibly also going to be the downfall of some servers. But if you get such a bot account on something like Hypixel, they will not know because they don't get the reports, and Microsoft might be quite trigger happy to just be cautious and rather ban people rather than not ban people. So yeah, that is possibly going to be really bad. And it should be that the reports first go to the server owners and maybe offer server owners, especially because they might have also had to migrate their accounts to Microsoft accounts anyway, offer them a sort of like dashboard where they can see reports, and if they don't like respond to a report, let's say within 2 months or maybe 3, then the report automatically gets sent to Microsoft. But if they do handle the report, even if it is just clicking everything away or like saying auto-resolve all to no action needed, even if they do that, then that's their decision, and then the report should be deleted under GDPR and should not be forwarded to Microsoft. I think that would be the proper approach, because then if someone just doesn't take care of the reports, then Microsoft can do that, and otherwise moderation has taken place, and then the person's head to roll if some legislator has a problem with how that happened there is the server owner. Yeah, that would be the simplest way of doing it, of not taking control away from the server owners unless they do nothing. That should possibly be done, but yeah, the way that the feature is now, it's like, yeah, hey, this is going to be the same thing as, I don't know, on some Microsoft Media Store in the early 2010s. It's like, no, that's a bit different than Minecraft, just a tiny bit, yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, that's one of the problems. One thing that I forgot to mention earlier when I brought up the topic of auto report feature in hacked clients that are just going to auto report the whole server list. Yeah, that will happen, and Microsoft possibly needs some sort of feature to not have that happen. Now, what a lot of other games do is, as soon as you click a report user button, it doesn't open in-game, but rather opens your browser and takes you to a report website with exactly the same sort of drop-down and reason and highlight the offending message sort of thing. I think they should also do this with Minecraft. This should not be an in-game feature, this should be a web page, because then you already thought a lot of the auto-reporting possibilities by having it be a website with a captcha and all of that, where a Minecraft mod or hacked client, they can't do anything on your screen, they can't change their web page. Only some sort of like superseding that macro can, and like even then, if there's a captcha, the macro's not gonna pass the test. So basically, make it a website or put a captcha into Minecraft. One of the two. But then again, with the captcha in Minecraft, I guess you could fake that by modding that out. So, web page. Make it a web page with a captcha that has to be completed in order to send the report. Don't have it within the game. Yeah, so that's one of these problems. Now, the last thing that I want to talk about is that basically, once again, I mean, from Microsoft I wouldn't ask anything of, but Mojang, in their communication, as I said in my last long ranting video, that the communication has gone up and down in quality with the community within really short times, often quite vigorously, that clearly the devs at Mojang are really bad at communication, which is fine. Like, I am a person who is really terrible at any sort of social interaction. However, I do not even try, because I know it's just going to go wrong. The sad thing is, when especially the Mojang devs try and fail, and sure, then maybe come up with an excuse as to why they failed, but like, sometimes you need to accept that if you have tried 10,000 times and failed, possibly significantly 10,000 times, then stop. Then give up. The thing with never give up, no, if there are some aspects about yourself that you cannot change and that will always be the same and that will always cause the same problems for you and others, just not do those. They're not going to work. They are not going to magically start to work. Don't do them. Just stop. However, this time around, they kind of did that. They stopped. They didn't say anything, and then just in a not even in a snapshot, in a pre-release, they introduced this feature with all the problems that it has that I stated before, with it being within the game and not just a link to a website like the feedback link or the bugs link. They are all links to website. Why should the report button be in game? That should be a website, because already for some people, like within the game, clicking a button and filling something out and sending it is mentally a bit easier than clicking a button in game. If they play it full screen, the full screen closes, they go back to the main desktop, their browser opens, and they're on a web page. Maybe logged in with a different account, or just knowing, oh, this thing uses cookies and Microsoft knows all of my accounts and my IP and everything, and oh, if I do a wrong report here, that might have consequences for me. At that point, a lot of people are already going to be like, okay, I'm not gonna report this now, I'm not gonna do this, because it's not worth it, because it's not actually a thing to be reported, but I was just, I'm going to report this person because they said dick in chat, although that's the name, and just report them. Then if a web page opens and maybe on the computer you're even logged in there with your parents' account or something, that's like, okay, I'm not gonna do that. Well, in game, yeah, I think that barrier is going to be much lower. So definitely make it a web page. But yeah, with all of these problems, they just introduced that feature in a pre-release without saying anything. It was just hidden somewhere in the patch notes that, oh, this now works. It wasn't even in the main text. It was just down in the patch notes. Yes, we've added that feature. I mean, that's already a bit better than they were in development of pre 1.10 versions. I think they often even put features in the game that they didn't even put in the patch notes, and the patch notes were like rather vague. I mean, they are at least better with actually putting everything they do into the patch notes. That's great, but yeah, they didn't say anything. They just pushed this out and hoped that no one would notice. And while, yes, the feature needs to be there, yes, it is a Microsoft thing and not a Mojang thing, but yes, it needs to be in place for legal requirements in some countries, and the same layout has worked on web pages, not in games, but on web pages for Microsoft for decades. You could have just said that. If they would have brought out another snapshot, but then would be back at the whole deadline thing that I criticized in my last long rant. But if you would have just said, this is a feature that has worked for other services for decades and is very much approved and vetted, and the moderation people that do this have been moderating, for example, Live Mail and Xbox Live and all of this for years or decades, they know what they are doing and so on. If you would have communicated all of this to your players, it wouldn't have been a problem. It would have been totally logical to everybody that this is how it should be, this is how it's good, yes, we need that. But through hiding it in the patch notes of a pre-release and saying absolutely nothing about it, still to this date, 26th of June, that I'm recording this, and then even bringing out, I think the last thing now was a release candidate with, again, slight tweaks to the feature and still no real word on it. Yeah, that's just Mojang going back to the bad communication ways. Coming out of some bad communication. It's just they are keeping at it. It's this whole thing that I said, if sometimes you say something and you shouldn't say anything. Sometimes you don't say anything and you should have said something. I don't know how you can so consistently get this wrong, but they consistently get it wrong. It's quite sad. But yeah, just know, to end this off, I definitely recommend the video by FitMC on the whole thing, because yeah, it's very much a Microsoft thing. I should have said this at the beginning, but I mostly mentioned Microsoft. This is why I hardly ever mentioned Mojang, only when it came to the introduction or the patch note thing, because this is the holding company of the provided service having to, as its like main overall entity, having to adhere to legislation. This is Microsoft, this is not Mojang, this is not just the Minecraft dev team. So yeah, if it is fully thought through and just plonked in and not even given a web page but put into the game, that is definitely a directory of Microsoft of quickly get this in. Can't be too difficult to put to put 5 text boxes into Java, right? Because Microsoft wouldn't know anything about that one, but yeah, it's like, no, can't be too difficult. Had this on Bedrock for some time too, put it in, done. Yeah, that's very much my Microsoft. But once again, if they want to keep operating in all countries, at some point the EU is definitely going to pass some laws, if there haven't been some passed already, about such moderation tools and protection and so on. They have to adhere if they still want to offer their services and their game in a lot of countries. So they have to do it. They should just do it a bit smarter, with a web page and not in-game, for both on Java and Bedrock. And second of all, Mojang, the dev team, the Java devs. At this point we know that the thing of nothing changes for you when you migrate your account was sadly once again untrue. So to the Mojang devs, once again, stop lying and talk to us when it makes sense to talk to us, and when you've got something truthful to say, like this is a feature that has been in other places for years and it will be fine. You could have just told us this instead of being completely silent and hoping no one notices, because you know people notice. Like, we even notice if Sticky Person stops spitting out a block at the zero-tick polls. Like, do you really think we then don't notice the patch note saying new band feature there? Yeah, interesting approach, but yeah, if you have something truthful to say, then please tell everybody. If you have a lie to spew out, then just shut up and say nothing. Don't do it the other way around, because you've been the last years doing it the other way around, and I don't like that. And I don't think anybody else who likes this game and wants it to be successful likes that either. What people definitely don't like is being lied to. Yeah. Well, I guess that's where I'm gonna end it. Thanks for listening, if you did. Again, quite a long thing, but I just have to rant, because I'm afraid that the rant things of other people that do this are going to be even more extreme than mine. Like, I'm even offering you some solutions and some, being on the side of Microsoft here, in the sense of this has to be here. Yeah, it should just be completely different, and it should be implemented differently. But other than that, you got it right. Yeah, just... I am starting to get a little bit cynical, so I'm just gonna stop. Thanks for watching, listening, and bye for now. 1.19 content coming, maybe, soon on this channel, potentially. Or maybe I'm just gonna turn it into my second ranting channel. That works too. Bye.